Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we will be building a second brain in Notion in order to effectively grow and manage your online business. But before we get started, what even is a second brain? A second brain is described as an external digital repository designed to capture, organize, and remind us of our ideas, inspirations, insights, and knowledge gained through experience. It employs modern technological tools to expand our memory and intellect, allowing us to manage a vast array of information types more effectively. This methodology not only helps in reducing stress from information overload, but also helps facilitate creativity by freeing up our biological brain to focus on imagination and presence, enhancing our ability to work with and remember valuable information. So let's talk about the acronym CODE. So the CODE mentality emphasizes a systematic approach to handling information. C stands for capture, and this emphasizes the importance of efficiently collecting all your ideas and information, ensuring that nothing valuable gets lost. O stands for organize. Strategies for structuring this information are highlighted to make it easily accessible and retrievable when needed. D stands for distill, and this focuses on refining and simplifying the gathered information into actionable insights, making it easier to understand and apply. And E stands for express. This underlines the significance of sharing your knowledge and insights, which not only aids others, but also reinforces your own understanding and completes the learning cycle. For a detailed exploration of the CODE mentality, you can refer directly to Tiago Forte's foundational concepts on his website. The next acronym we're going to look at that encompasses this whole second brain is the PARA system. So the PARA system is a method for organizing digital information into four main categories: projects, areas, resources, and archives. So projects are defined as time-bound activities with specific objectives, where areas represent spheres of activity that require ongoing attention and maintenance. Resources are collections of informations on topics or themes of ongoing interest. And archives include all items not currently active in the other three categories, serving as a repository for reference or future use. So it's this framework that aids in structuring and accessing information efficiently, and what we'll be creating here in the second brain. Okay, now that we have an understanding of the systems in place and the structure of our second brain, let's get started on building out the second brain here in Notion. So if you don't already have a Notion account, you can go ahead and click the link down in the description, which will bring you to this page right here. So go ahead and click on Get Notion for free, so you can go ahead and get started for free. From here, all you need to do is either log in with your Google account, Apple account, or your work email to get started. After you go ahead and have your Notion account, go ahead and follow along with the rest of the video. Okay, so we're just gonna get started here with a brand new page, and we're gonna start off by creating the core databases that are going to make up the foundation of our second brain. So we're gonna go ahead and just call this page databases. I found that by starting with creating the core databases first allows for easier organization later down the road. So on this page, we're gonna create 5 full page databases, one for areas, one for projects, one for tasks, one for resources, and one for notes. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hit the slash button here and start typing database full page. Go ahead and call this one areas. Go ahead and create another full page database. Call this one projects, one for tasks, one for resources, and lastly, one for notes. So now that we have those 5 databases, just the skeletons of them put together, let's go ahead and start building them out, starting with areas. So the areas database will have the following properties. We're going to start off with a name. This will be the name of the area. The next property we're going to create is an archive property, and we're going to turn this into a checkbox property. The next property we're going to create is a relation property. This relation property is what's going to allow us to link these 5 different databases together and really unlock the power of Notion. Projects, and we want to show this relationship over on the projects database. Go ahead and click add relation. Now we're going to create another relation database here for the notes section, as well as a relation property for the resources as well. And we want to make sure that we're showing this property on the other database as well. So next, I was going to create the progress rollup property, but we need to do something in the projects database first. So let's go ahead and dive into the projects database now. So the project database is going to have the following properties. First, it's going to have a name, obviously. And as you can see, we created that relation in the areas database, this relation between the areas and the projects database, and that's why that's showing up here. So go ahead and delete this tags property. And we're going to create create a status property in the projects database. And we're going to turn this not started into inbox. And we'll have another one in the to-do section here called planned. And we'll turn that yellow. And then we'll keep blue for in progress and green for done. Okay, now we're going to create a couple date properties, a start date and an end date. I like to create two separate dates instead of just creating a start and end date from the same property because it just allows for a little bit easier organization. So we'll just go ahead and call this one start date, and we can go ahead and duplicate this property and rename it to end date. Next property we're going to create here is a priority, and this will be a select property. And for this, we're going to create a high option, a medium option, and a low option. I'm gonna go ahead and just make those all red. We're also gonna create another archives property here for the projects as well. And this archives property that we're gonna create in all the databases allows us to filter our data so that in one area we have the active stuff and in the other area we have our archived data. So we'll look for that checkbox and call it archive. The next property we're gonna do is a relation property. So we are going to link the resources database here to the projects database, and we want to show that on both. And that does it for the projects database. Now, real quick, we're going to go back to the areas database and create that one property I talked about earlier. So here, what we're going to do, we're going to create a rollup property. And what this does is this is going to, you select the rollup property and you can select which relation you want to pull data from. So we want to pull some data from the projects database via the relation. And here we can select which property it is that we want it to return. So in this case, we want to select status. So under this calculate, we're going to click % per group of complete. We want to show this as a bar, just like that. And we're gonna go ahead and rename rollup to progress. So what this property represents is the total percentage of projects under an area that are complete. Okay, next we are going to take a look at the tasks database. And for this, we're gonna have several properties. We're gonna keep the name property as is. We're gonna go ahead and delete this tags property. And the first property that we're gonna create is a relation property, so we can relate this to projects. And we wanna show that on both ends here. The next property we're gonna select here is a date property, and we're gonna call this due date. And the last property that we're gonna create here is a checkbox, and we're gonna call this completed. So once we complete a task, we can go ahead and check it off. All right, moving on to the resources database, we're gonna go ahead and come in here. And as we can see, we have that relation that we created from the areas and the project section. And what we're gonna do here, we're going to go ahead and get rid of this tags property. We're going to create a URL property so we can save things from the web and it'll show up here. We can easily access it. And we're gonna create two checkbox categories here. One that we've created before, the archive checkbox. And we'll go ahead, duplicate that. And we're gonna create one here called favorites, and we'll go ahead and change this little icon here to a star. And you can go ahead and change the icons for any property here. I just wanted to do that to keep a distinction here between the archive and the favorites checkbox. And lastly, we're gonna go ahead and add one more relation here. I like to have this related to my tasks database as well. So we're gonna go ahead and hit relation, select tasks, show on both ends, and add relation. So here in the notes section, we're gonna go ahead and get rid of this tags property. And I'm just gonna go ahead and create relations to the projects database and the tasks database and show that on both ends as well. Okay, so now that we have our core databases created, let's go ahead and create a home page so that we can visually organize this data into a usable format. So what we're gonna go ahead and do here is we're gonna go ahead and hit backslash and type in page to create a new page. We'll call this home page. I'm gonna go back and I'm going to held option and click home page, and that's what opens it up here in this side view. With the home page open over here on the side, one by one, I'm going to right click each of the databases here, hit copy link, paste, and we're going to create a linked view of the database. And we're just going to do that for all the databases here. Okay, now that we have all of the databases here in the home page, we'll go ahead and just make the home page full width. Go ahead and give this home page an icon. Go ahead and give it a brain emoji because this is our second brain, and we'll add a cover here. I'll just pick one from the Notion gallery. That one looks okay to me. And now we can go ahead and start designing this so it makes a little bit more sense here. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna create some templates for each of this databases. So let's go ahead and start with the areas. We'll come in here and select new template. Before we do that, what we wanna do is, again, the areas are going to encompass many different projects. So for your business, you might have areas like sales, marketing, client delivery. And within those areas, there are projects. So what we're going to do is going to go ahead and copy the projects database here. We're gonna go ahead and copy that link and come here to create a new template. We're gonna go ahead and paste that linked view in right there like that. Now, the first thing that we want to do here is we're gonna change the view. So we're gonna turn this into a board view so we can see sort of the status of the projects within this area. So go ahead, select board view, group by status. Perfect. We'll put some of these blank projects in here just so we can easily see, and we'll actually go ahead and make this full screen. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead, we'll call this area, just for examples, we'll go ahead and call this marketing. Now, what we wanna do is we only want to see the projects that relate to the marketing area. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and create filter, or actually, sorry, we're not gonna call this we're creating a template, but the same thing applies, right? So we only wanna see projects that relate to the specific area that we are creating. And right now we're just creating that template. So we're gonna come into the projects here, hit filter, and we're gonna select areas, and we'll select that. So now, when we come back here to the areas and we go ahead and select this template that we just created, now we'll go ahead, we can call this marketing. And if we create a new project in here, we can see that this project that we just created is now linked to that marketing area. So that's how we wanted to create these areas. So let's go back to that template, and just a couple other housekeeping things I like to do for all of my templates is I like to take these resources and we'll show as minimal, and we'll take the notes and also show those as minimal. That will they'll kind of show up down here. So whenever you add a note, that is where you will see them. Now, the last thing we'll do here in this template, we'll go ahead and duplicate this view so that it carries that filter over, but we want to change the layout to timeline, which is my favorite view, especially for projects. So you can visually sort of see how your projects are lining up with due dates and everything. So what we want to do, we'll separate start and end dates. This is why we created those two separate dates. So the start date will be the start date property that we created. The end date will be the end date property that we selected. Last little housekeeping thing for this template, we'll go ahead, click here and hide database title. I think it just looks a little bit cleaner that way. And we'll go ahead and just call this new area, and that is good to go. Also rename this to timeline so that we know which is which. The last thing we'll do here on the areas before we create a projects template is we're going to change this from a table to a gallery view. Because you're not gonna have a ton of areas, right? We're gonna have areas that encompass lots of projects and things like that. I really like the gallery view here, and then we'll go ahead and select the property to show, and we'll select progress. So that way we can see how our projects within a certain area are moving along. And again, little housekeeping thing, we'll go ahead. I like to do a heading 3. So we'll do 3 number signs and press space. Call this areas, put a divider in, and then go ahead and hide that database title. All right, so we'll go ahead and just make that change to the projects database there. Now let's go in and make a project template. So before we go into the projects template, we're going to go ahead and select the task database. We're going to copy that link because we want the task for a specific project to be within that template. So come in here, we can call this new project, and we're going to go ahead and create a linked view of the tasks database. Now we're going to go ahead and do the very similar thing that we did in the areas. So we only want to see the tasks related to this project. So we're going to hit filter, projects, and we'll select a new project. And now every time that we come in here, we will see only the tasks associated with this project. And then I just like to come in here and add a sort so that the completed is ascending. And just a little housekeeping, we'll go ahead, create a heading 3 tasks and move that above our database, hide database title, add a divider, and we are good to go. I also like to, we'll go ahead, we'll duplicate this and create a timeline view because, when you're doing a project that has lots of tasks, they're sequential, and using the timeline view here, again, I find very helpful. So go ahead and select that. Sweet, we have a template for our areas. We have a template for our projects. Go ahead and we'll just add a new view of the projects here, and we'll edit this view to be a timeline. Again, I just think that's the best option here for the projects. Now, one thing I forgot to do, since we were going through the trouble of making these templates, let's go ahead and come back in here and just add an icon so that we know kind of what things are just by a visual sense. So for the area, maybe we'll put in like a globe, and for a project, we'll select some sort of like folder icon. We'll go ahead, put that tasks header, and we'll hide that tasks database title. So now we're into creating a tasks template. So in here, we'll go ahead and just just select an icon. There's not really much we need to do for the tasks template other than that. Go ahead and select some sort of check mark. Now, the only thing that we'll do here is we'll create some different views for the tasks view. So what I like to do is change this into a list view, and we can go ahead and select the properties to be shown. We'll go ahead and select complete and due date. Now, what we'll go ahead and do is we'll call this all incomplete tasks. And we'll create a filter to where completed is unchecked. Then we'll go ahead and we'll duplicate this view and we'll call this today, and we'll create a filter to where due date is today. Due date today. There we go. And we'll go ahead and duplicate that one more time, and we'll call this view this week, and we'll change that filter from today to relative to this week. Sweet. There we go. So now we have a few different views. We can go ahead and look at all of our tasks for all of our projects. And we can look at all of our tasks for all of our projects that are due today and all of the tasks that are due this week. Now, moving down to the resources task. Now we'll go ahead and just add the header here for the resources and add a divider, and we'll get rid of that database title. Now, one thing I forgot to add here in the resources database is we want to create a status here for resources. Now, the different status properties or, values that we're going to put in here are inbox. We'll call this one to review. So this will filter out the things that we need to review still, and we will create the completed one, and that will be reviewed. Now for this, again, I like to edit this view and change it to a list view. We're going to create two views based on a filter. So the first one will be to review. So we'll go ahead and rename that, and we'll go ahead and create a filter there. So yep, that already has that on there, and we'll go ahead, duplicate this view, rename it to reviewed, and change the filter to reviewed. So that way we can look at the resources that we have yet to review or need to review, and the ones that are already reviewed but not quite archived yet. So for the notes, all we're going to do is create that header, hide the database title. And the last thing I forgot to do here for the notes is create an archive property. So we want to create an archive checkbox property, and we are good to go there. Now for this, I like to change this view to a list, and that is pretty much good to go. Now, one thing I forgot to do for all of these views. Now remember, we created that archive property on each one of these databases. So for our homepage here, we don't want to see the things that we've archived. We're going to make a separate page for that elsewhere. What we want to do here is create a filter for each of these views. So it's only showing the filter where archive is unchecked. So it's not archived. So we're going to come in here, we'll go filter, archive, unchecked. And we want to make sure we do that for all views here. So go filter, archive, unchecked, filter, archive, unchecked. Now, task doesn't have an archive because it's task, so we use the complete property, so that kind of replaces that. And for resources, we'll go filter, add filter, archive, unchecked, reviewed, do the same thing here, filter, archive, unchecked, and filter, archive, unchecked. Okay, so now our second brain is really starting to come together. We have a spot where we can come in here and create a different area. Maybe we'll create this as a new area, and let's just go ahead and walk through sort of how you would use this second brain. Now, there's more to come, but I just want to show you how everything's coming together so far. So we come in here, we can call this maybe sales, and we'll come in here and create a new project for sales, and maybe it's sales page for Q1 launch, and we'll select the new project for that. And then we can start to add in some tasks that we need to do for this sales page for Q1 launch project. So that might be write first draft, edit first draft, publish, for an example. We'll go ahead and full screen this project page here and switch over to the timeline view. And now we can start to plan out some of these dates here. So we'll go ahead, we'll maybe select write first draft is going to take that long, and then we're going to edit that first draft, and then we're going to publish that first draft. We'll go ahead and just sort by due date, and there we go. So again, we started in sales, we made this new area called sales, and we have this project here called sales page for Q1. And if we open that up, now we have all the tasks associated with that specific project. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just organize our second brain a little bit. So previously we started with this database page where all our databases live, but we want to keep that separate from our home page. So what I went ahead and did is I favorited this home page that's over here on the left. We're just going to drag the databases page. Okay, so what I went ahead and did is I took the home page out of the databases page. And what we're going to do is we're just going to create a navigation bar. And this navigation bar is going to be at the top of every page that we have. So right now we have two pages technically. We have our home page and we have our database page. But we're going to create some other pages. And instead of having to go back and forth between all of them, we're going to create a navigation bar that'll live at the top of of them, so it's a lot easier to navigate. So to do that, we're going to start by creating a call out. All right, so we're going to start by creating this call out, and we will change this icon to a house. And what we'll do is we're going to call this home. We're gonna go over to our home page here, and we're gonna click to the top right and hit copy link. If we go back to that database, we're going to select that link and we'll go ahead and just paste. And there we go. So now we can go ahead and click that button, and that'll take us to our home page. So that's sort of how the navigation page is going to work. Now, what we want to do here is we're going to copy link to block. We'll go to this home page, go ahead, paste and sync is what we want to do here. So now any changes that we make to this block will be reflected wherever that synced block has been pasted. So let's go back to the databases here. And what we want to do is we'll go ahead and we'll copy the link to the databases page. We'll hold shift and press enter. We'll go ahead and press paste, and we'll go link to page. And now we have the databases page in here as well. So if we click on home, we can see that that synced block has now updated, and we have that databases page within that. So now we're going to create a couple pages within here to make this second brain really come to life. So the first one we're going to do is called inbox, and we're just going to create a page, and we'll go ahead and we'll title this inbox. Now, the first thing we want to do is copy the link to this synced block, and we'll go ahead and click on inbox, and we want to paste that right at the top. So this inbox is going to act as an inbox for all of the different areas of our second brain, all the different areas, the different projects, the different tasks, as well as resources and notes. So let's go ahead and we will make this page full width, and we'll click on databases here. And the first thing we want to do is copy link. We'll go back to the inbox, paste, create linked view. So what we want to do here is turn this into a list view and create a filter for status. And this will be anything inbox. So things that we haven't selected that we need to review yet, and things that we have not reviewed yet. We want to create one more filter here, and that is going to be for the archive. We want to make sure that that is unchecked. The next database we'll copy over. We'll go ahead and just press option, click databases, and we will hit copy link to the tasks. We'll go ahead and paste that and create a linked view. And we'll go ahead and turn this into a list view as well. And we will create a couple filters. So we'll go where completed is unchecked because we only want to see incomplete tasks because this is our inbox. We want to create some other filters here as well. So anywhere where there is a task without a due date, so where due date is empty, we'll add one more filter, and anything without a project. So where projects is empty. All right, the next database that we're gonna wanna copy over here is our project. So we'll go ahead, copy that link, create linked view. We'll switch this over to a board and create a couple filters. So the filters that we wanna create here, we'll go ahead and just create an advanced filter. So we'll select where status is set to inbox, or where area is empty, or where start date is empty. So these are all our projects that just really haven't been planned out yet, and so they're sitting here in our inbox. All right, and so that sort of concludes our inbox page here. The next page that we'll create here that we'll be able to access in our navigation bar will be our tasks page. So we'll go ahead /page, call this tasks, and we'll actually go back, and the first thing we want to do is copy this navigation block and paste that so we can easily get around. We'll make this page full width, and we'll go ahead and open up the databases in the sidebar there, copy the link to the tasks database and paste it in here. So this page is just a page to only view your tasks. The home page, you can see everything, right? Your areas, your projects, your tasks, your resources, and your notes. And this page here is just a place to see the task that you want to see. And here we'll go ahead and turn this into a list view and add some filters to this. So we want completed to be unchecked, and we'll go ahead and put where due date is today. So we can see today's view, and we'll call this view today. We'll go ahead and duplicate that view, and we'll create a view for this week. And the only thing we have to do here is change the filter from today to our start date is relative today this week. And there we go. What I also like to do then as well is just copy the link to the tasks database, create a linked view below it, and here what we'll do, we'll go ahead and just select this week, but we're going to change that to a timeline, and we'll take the filter of this week off. So this way we can just see all of our tasks in a timeline view. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and hit sort by due date. There we go. And that is the tasks page. All right, the next page that we're going to create is the projects page. So real quick, we'll go ahead and copy the link to the navigation bar, create a new page, call this projects. and we'll go ahead, paste and sync, move the projects up into the navigation bar, full width of the page. We'll go ahead, open the database in the side peek view there, copy the link to the projects database, paste, create linked view of database. Now, what I like to do on this page here is actually we'll select table, but we're gonna turn it into a timeline view. Now, what I like to do on this dedicated projects page is group this by the area. So this way you can see your projects on a timeline view, but separated by different areas to keep things organized. We'll go ahead, hide empty groups, and there we go. We can see that sales page for Q1 launch that we had under the sales category. And if you were to create a project here in the marketing area, you can see how it's differentiated here now because of that grouping feature. Okay, the next page that we're going to create up here, and that's going to live in our navigation bar, is the areas page. So we'll go ahead, create a page called areas. We'll copy and paste the synced block at the top here so we can easily navigate around, and we'll go ahead and put that up top there. Now, I like to create two different views here. So at the top, what we're going to do is we're going to create the view of the areas. We'll go ahead and open the database page there from the side. We'll copy the link to the areas database. Go ahead and paste that. And I also am going to copy the projects database. So we'll go ahead, copy and paste. So at the top here, we're going to turn this areas database into a gallery view. And the property that we'll turn on here will be the progress roll up. And then down here, what I like to do is I call this the projects area. So we'll go ahead, we're going to edit this view and we're going to turn this into a board. We're going to group by areas. So this way we can see all the projects by area. And for properties, we'll want to see the name, obviously, status, and maybe priority. And there we go. That is the areas page. All right. And so now we're back at the home page here, and you can kind of see everything that we've built. So at the top, we have this navigation bar that we can click on any page here, and we have that navigation bar at the top. We did that with a synced block. And yeah, so there you go. So hopefully you found this video helpful in creating your own second brain in Notion to run and manage your online business. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and give it a like and consider subscribing, as we make tons of videos on this channel for entrepreneurs to help them start and manage their online business. And again, we'll leave a link below down in the description where you guys can check out Notion. And if you guys use our link, it helps support the channel at no extra cost to you. So that way we can keep making free videos just like this for you. So thanks again for watching, and we'll go ahead and see you in the next video.